welcome to the Box Office podcast, where I'm with certain gentlemen that won a World Cup here. We're a couple of days out when the Boks will play against Ireland. It's going to be massive, it's going to be huge. We'll be chatting up there. Bryan, Habana, Jean de Villiers, Schalk Burger, Box Office. Let's go. Welcome back to Box Office. Let's start with Bryan, Mr. International Traveller, Mr. Paris.
Bonjour.
Oh, here we go, showing off again. He's showing off again.
2 weeks already, surely you're fluent.
Where are you now? London? You've been in Paris? Coming down to Toulon?
Paris at the start
Disney World?
Not yet, Disney. Shh, don't spoil the surprise.
Okay, thoughts on the World Cup?
Ryder Cup? Is Ryder Cup happening?
I haven't asked
Ask
my
your
wife
wife.
just yet, Janine. Not yet. But yeah, Paris for the next while, Shimange.
You were at the opening game, yeah? Good fun?
It was bouncing. Interesting opening scenes, the boos. I'm not quite sure how you guys heard on the TV, but we could not hear President Macron or Sir Bilberman at all in this stadium. But I think the atmosphere was absolutely incredible. It was pretty spectacular. A rather dire first half, but then the French kicked into some fine form in that second, and good win. And some top celebrities, yeah. George Russell was there.
Bryan
Beckham. No, I wasn't here.
You're not there. You're not there.
No, not
You want us to mention you? You want us to mention you?
That's why I'm on the pod.
Oh, so tell us who are. So,
David Beckham, Mbappe, a lot of the French.
Oh, yeah, we
the
saw
French,
that.
Kylian Mbappe,
footballer.
yeah.
Kylian Mbappe was there, so it was a pretty bouncy vibe. Mbappe. You would have loved it.
We were often to Bordeaux, guys. Give us the thumbs up, eh? Proper spot.
Bordeaux was amazing.
Yeah.
It was nice. A
Thumbs
change
up.
of scenery because Marseille was super hot as well down there, so a little bit cooler. But like the vibe in that town was ridiculous. The first town I felt like Rugby World Cup was the only thing happening.
Yeah.
And we ended up in the House of Parliament, a little pub there. And the Green Goblins got us. We were singing Kosi Sikalele 3 in the afternoon. I mean, it was some vibe, but also a cool little stadium, like a proper, like a cauldron, like a lot of old rugby stadiums. They're like a
Close to the
40,000 seater right on top
Yeah.
of it. So it was a great atmosphere.
It's very cold now.
Sean, you went to, I don't know, to count your money in Guernsey or what?
Guernsey.
Guernsey. Oh, what were you doing there? Just explain to us.
Before we just get to that, let's just talk about the elephant in the room, yeah? Why are you banned from Uber?
I'm not banned from Uber. I'm not banned from Uber.
Why do
Please share with the world.
It's just a debate. We're not getting along me and Uber at the moment, but
Yeah.
it will be sorted out. I'm not
Okay.
banned.
Wrong
So you're not
information.
banned. So you can
No, but
use Uber.
You my Uber.
Can you use
Matt Pierce is
Uber?
my Uber, actually.
I mean, it's Uber Eats. Every night. You had McDonald's last night, by the way.
Twice.
boys. Yeah.
No, it's okay. Someone explain, Bryan. You've spent a lot of time
Technological platforms,
French.
yeah.
2 o'clock, between 2 and 7, nothing's open. You can't get food anywhere.
It depends where you are.
In Bordeaux, you couldn't.
No, you should be able to get food somewhere between
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2
Yeah,
o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock. No, 2 o'clock.
So what he's saying is
in the afternoon, between 2 and 7.
After lunch and before dinner, he gets hungry, and then he gets hangry from 2 to 7.
I mean, some of the restaurants would close, but you'd have like
Yeah.
fast food restaurants and chains open.
Exactly, hence the McDonald's. So you just answered my question. Thank
But
you very
yeah,
much.
but-
That's why I've been having McDonald's.
Did you have
Was that-
McDonald's twice yesterday?
Oh, look. There's come to travel issues. Okay, yes, I did. No, and wait, hold on. You ate the other burger. Don't lie.
Yeah.
The nuggets were for the table.
You had 24 nuggets.
No, 40. I
And-
ordered 40.
Okay,
I
you
ate
had
20,
38
and the rest were
nuggets.
for you guys.
I think this
let's-
qualifies as negative gains.
But let's not talk
Bryan.
about burgers and Jean.
So, are you going to tell us about your trip, John?
What trip? Oh, to Guernsey.
Yeah.
Yeah, a quick business trip there. Obviously, because I've got a corporate job as well, so we've got an office there. Did 3 client events, couple of functions, bit of media stuff there. Look, it's a growing community in terms of rugby as well. So the rugby is quite big there between them and the Jersey team. And it was good just to see the vibe being there as well. No, I didn't cash in at all. No cash
Harvesting, my
in.
boy.
Nothing.
Harvesting. Scala
Nothing.
liver check. How's it going?
No,
Bordeaux was good. The wine was good there.
proper good. I mean, my liver is, they definitely need a visa. I've applied for it to get it back into South Africa, but Bordeaux was amazing. And it's also, we came there off the back of a very successful week, socially, especially in the times we were in Marseille. And we got to Bordeaux, thought, okay, let's just check this little town out. And wow, did it surprise us. A great little spot.
Shimmy, why are you banned from Uber?
I really want to understand.
No, I'm not banned.
So if I was to ask you,
My app isn't working.
but what do you mean it's not working? So when you go in Uber, what does it say to you?
Please leave the site.
Says the account's locked.
We can move on.
Okay, let's move on. Brian,
on your bit of footage
nightlife in Paris. Recommendations? It's dangerous, eh?
There's quite a few. So Monsieur Paris, our good friend at Racing Metro, would be able to definitely
Is that
tell us.
Yannick
Nyanga knows a few spots in town. He organised a night out for myself and Bismarck du Plessis 2 months ago.
And Bismarck's still not back.
Bismarck's still not back. But like literally 11 o'clock at night, nothing happening. We honestly thought we'd been stitched up. 30 minutes later, you can't move in the place. In pops Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire at this nightclub. So Yannick Nyanga.
Did they ask you for an autograph?
No. Bismarck went up to him. He goes, Leonardo, I love you in Black Diamond. In the bathroom. I was like,
that's a bit awkward.
Was there already Byron there? Bismarck was parked. Did he turn into Byron that evening or no Byron?
No, we weren't quite Byron yet. No, it was still very early on in the evening. It was 11:45. So, but it was Jason Robinson. The man can move and he's busy. So he kept us very well entertained.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a proper
How long have you been here for?
We're in France.
Yeah.
Now for 2 weeks.
Okay, and then you went back. You were in South Africa before, or London. I'm just trying to get out your travel schedule.
Oh, so 2 weeks or 5 years ago?
No. I mean, you
I haven't
Leonardo
been back-
DiCaprio, Beckham.
No, but I'm talking
Kylian
about
Mbappe.
2 months ago.
Oh, 2 months.
when we
Okay,
organised
cool.
For us, Shami.
You're not going to the Ryder Cup.
We're counting Brian's
Listening
money
to that
on
travel
that trip of
schedule.
yours.
It wasn't a Boeing. It was a small plane.
Nice.
Quick one, guys. Springboks, Romania.
I reckon they'll Romania till the game on Saturday. Oh, the game.
The game.
Oh, Romania.
What an idiot.
Impressive in terms of taking into account the opposition and how easily you can kind of lose discipline and lose focus and get quite loose. So the way they started was just incredible.
Yeah.
And then kind of that middle patch when it started raining, some handling errors. Romania actually came into the game quite nicely. Got close but never got over the line. And then towards the end as well, just running away with it, the box. So yeah, they got out of it what they wanted to. It's difficult to watch a
You've
game.
been very general. I'll be specific. Scala, the loose forward. Quaka Smith
Well,
was good.
since Wengo does loose forwards, back up and play hooker. So
Exactly,
we had three hookers. Obviously, Bongo Nambi started. He did his thing for the first half. Dion Freak took over for him as a like-for-like swap. And then later on, Marco van Staden went from open side flanker to hooker. And Dion went from hooker to open side. And then we also got to talk about the four scrum-offs and the trifecta. Scrum-off to Faf to Grant Williams, picking on the Romanian scrum-off. But like John mentioned, like we were so impressive in how structured we stayed, disciplined within our game plan. Because these games, we've all played them, Brian, where you get a little bit loose or someone tries something out of the system, didn't overplay in our own half. And to be honest, quite tricky conditions, like there's a thunderstorm that broke out in the middle of the first half, and there was a few handling errors that crept in, but then straight after that, straight to type, Villiers stringing passes together in that wider channel, Mapimpi scoring a hat-trick. Yeah, I thought it was a great outing for the Boks. And in our pool, I think, the points difference might still
Yeah, that's the big
have
thing,
a big
isn't it?
role
Yeah.
to play in who qualifies to the quarterfinal.
Brian, Grant Williams, does he get a pass at wing?
Definitely, with a speed like that.
He runs nicely,
He must be the
Jeez, he's
he must be the
rapid. He is so
fastest.
quick.
I reckon
must be
it's
the
touch and go
fastest.
between him and Kobus Reinach. Like, in
Yeah.
terms of the quickest in the squad at the moment. And obviously, Kurtley Orange is pretty rapid. Cheslin Makazoli aren't slouches, and
Yeah,
Kanan Moody's. But Grant Williams, his turn of pace is ridiculous. That first 7 meters is.
Does he not? We were speaking, actually, Justin Marshall and myself, so we were watching it while these guys were doing commentary. And I said, in game, yeah, he runs like Rupeni. Not on
Yeah,
Ibuka.
100%.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like the-
Just the way he
the
moves
action,
and the
right,
way he
yeah.
kind of changes direction. And we saw George Gregan yesterday, and we were like chatting about it. He goes, "Don't you think Grant Williams runs like Rupeni?" I'm like, I said the same thing.
I mean, his 2 legs are the size of one of.
True.
I know,
Exactly.
But no, he's running action. He's actually got such a fluid running action.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like he's a proper athlete out of the hips. It's very impressive.
But same as you, like he has the ability to maybe not a step, but change direction without losing speed. Just at you know, and you were
You're
able,
being very kind, John. I
you
didn't
were
have a
able-
step. No, I
You
had a swerve.
were.
You had a swerve.
I had a swerve.
you were able to do the same.
And Eddie, you had the one where you dropped it on the shin, little chip kick off the shin, and always bounced
I
straight
perfected
back
the
up.
shink. I
The
perfected the shink. Gio Aplon and John de Jong actually said they're still looking for that ball. I kicked directly into touch. 5 meters.
One guy to mention, Kuba's right now. So hat trick against Canada in 2019 within 20 minutes. This time around, scoring a hat trick again
In
in
23
23 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's only 2 starts he had in the World
Yeah.
Cup, was it?
Yeah.
John, but what do you take? A performance like that, everybody look good. Does that put pressure for the Ireland game in terms of selection? I mean, with all due respect, it is Romania.
Yeah.
So from a selection point of view, has anyone played themselves into the team?
I don't think there's much wiggle room in our side. Obviously, the loss of Marks is a massive one for us. Like the best player in the world for us, in our point of view. You know, we lose him. Obviously, we know what we've got in Bongi, so he's got to step up for the next 5 weeks. Wiggle room at number 8.
Yeah.
And I think it's a horses for courses scenario, whether we play Dwayne or Jasper. I think we might pick Jasper this weekend. And then...
Disagree.
You know,
Big call.
and then
Why? Okay, why?
No,
Let's
I reckon so. Jasper, I think, is still finding his feet at international level. I think with Dwayne, you know exactly what you're going to get. And if you take what's happened over the last 2 to 3 months, the first game that Dwayne came back against Australia, he was phenomenal.
amazing.
yeah, it was incredible.
And then, New Zealand 2 weeks later, Jasper just got found wanting. And in an experienced environment like effectively almost a knockout game is going to be against Ireland, I think Dwayne, even at his tender age of 37 or 38, he's looking phenomenal.
I think it's more looking at kind of the signs in terms of how they utilize the bench on the weekend. Jasper and Jesse Kriel being on the bench, but not going on the field. So that might have been a sign to say, okay, Dwayne went 80 minutes. You probably want to rest the other two to start. That's
So for me, it's just about our approach and ball carrying. And I think what gave it away was last year in November, we picked Cheslin Colby at fullback.
Yeah.
And we also picked Jasper, is to run back at Ireland. Don't sit in defence.
Yeah.
Don't give it away too early. At least make them defend 2-3 phases before we turn into our kicking play. Then obviously everyone thinks who's going to start fullback. For me, it's Damien Willems is back at fullback. But then our bench, there's massive wiggle room in our bench.
So the wings then Cheslin in and Kirtley, you reckon?
Yeah. I feel for Makazole. I think as a guy we know he's now tied with Brayton Paulser as the 5th all-time try scorer for South African rugby. He's got 9 tries in a Rugby World Cup, which is
John is slipping down the
who's
list.
the all-time try
Where
scorer?
you
No,
now,
let's not
John?
talk about all-time. But
Who's the
he's
all-time try scorer?
but he's ahead of.
Who's the all-time try scorer?
Correct.
You don't
So-
have the all-time try scorer.
Who's the all-time try scorer?
Shimmy is also the all-time yellow card receiver for South Africa.
in a World Cup as well, right? 2 in a World Cup was hectic. But I feel for Makazole, he's just looking really fit, classic finisher. I think he's probably still, for me, the best under the high ball in terms of the contestable opportunities that we have. So, Kirtley, his ratio of try scoring at the moment is...
But
I
all
can be
four
sure
of
that's
them,
not.
eh?
I feel sorry for.
It's fine. We'll carry on.
I feel sorry for Kanan, and I feel sorry for a guy like Andre Esterhuizen, like guys who's really played well.
Esterhuizen's been good, yeah.
But it's all. I mean, that's the strong suit for the box at the moment. It's our depth. But like when you guys miss out, like when Kwagga missed out the first game against Scotland, I thought that was quite harsh. Kwagga went so well on the weekend.
Would we fit in 100? What do you think the
I
plan
don't think he
would be
fits in
for
this week.
Not this weekend.
No, I don't think you can justify selecting him if you are starting with Amani and Damien.
Yeah.
Who covers fly off as well. I think the 5th de Klerk kind of test to see how he goes at 10. You probably tick that box, but you wouldn't want to give him too much time there. I think his goal kicking might have passed the test there. But
Damien at 10 if something happens tomorrow.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Those are the versatility
So
covers
all-
there.
You got
all three of them that can cover that.
Villiers on the bench as well.
As
anyway.
player 23.
Yeah. But like I think
then
there's
the
a
win-
role. There's a role for him to play come playoffs.
Yeah.
And we saw Rassie do this with Morne Steyn. The more
Lions.
things change, the more they stay the same. When he came back and he kicked the 2 winning goals against the British and Irish Lions. So I don't think Rassie says Hundred is not in the mix. He's just not in the mix for this week.
I think it's a coin toss between Hundred and Villiers for on the bench. Then if you're not starting Villiers because then obviously Hundred can cover 10. A guy like Marnie can move to fullback.
Henry covers 12 as well sometimes.
Faf also covered 10.
Yeah.
We had a little brief stint.
But then
And then you actually look
Yeah,
decent
but
at
to get maybe a more reliable goal kicker on the field kind of thing.
Chaps, big injuries. I mean, Ibn Etzebeth now, that's obviously an injury concern though. Looks like he should be all right for Ireland.
Yeah, we've seen him train, so I think he'll be back playing
Yeah.
starting this weekend.
Guys,
Vincent Koch?
let's just be honest here.
Yeah.
We made a couple of comments on the Box Office podcast where we ask questions around who we can't afford to lose, and we mention those names, and then we start ticking them off
I know,
as they get injured.
We're 2 for 2.
So let's stay away from that.
But we've seen the impact. Look at Australia, Skelton, Tupou gone. They lose their scrum, lose the game. Julian Marchand from France, and Dante also out the first game. So some big injuries. So it's going to happen.
It is going to happen.
Unfortunately, you don't want too many of them.
Roman
Obviously.
Intermark also.
Yeah, Roman Intermark. Yeah.
So it is going to happen, but I think what the top coaches over the last 3-4 years have done is create a pool of depth. You think Pablo Galtier has done it with the French team. Jacques done it. Are we saying Jacques or are we saying Rassi? I'm not quite sure who he's saying.
Coaching.
The coaching, the
Yeah.
management of the Springboks. You almost feel New Zealand haven't really got quite the depth of their starting
Yeah,
15.
you're spot on. They don't.
And Australia definitely don't. So England, we saw, 1 or 2 guys injured. They just don't step up to the plate quite like. So you believe Ireland have got the depth. But I think the big thing is obviously Johnny Sexton, if he goes, they effectively now playing 6 knockout games in a row.
Yeah.
And, I'm not quite sure if Johnny's gone 6 games in a row.
For a very long time. He doesn't do it in URC.
No,
and he
or
definitely
Champions
doesn't
Cup.
for...
He doesn't leave Dublin. He doesn't.
That's true.
He's never packed his bags and left Dublin. He only plays at home.
Yeah, so I think that the depth of the squad is being tested. I think that the Boks, the French, and the Irish probably have the strongest group. 1 to 33, 1 to 35 should be counted on, and that's probably why they're 1, 2, and 3 in the world at the moment.
While we're at it, chaps, let's talk about coaching. I mean, Australia fired the coach just before the World Cup. Look at the result. Borthwick seems to be finding his feet to a certain extent. You look at the Springboks now, there's a lot of chat about Rassi possibly going to Ireland. Is that all just rumours or paper talk, or is there any truth to it? I mean, Jacques obviously announced that he's gone.
Yeah.
I think Felix Jones is joining England.
Yeah. I think it will be worrying for us if we lose Rassi post the World Cup, because I think that's where we might feel a bit of pain. You lose Felix Jones, you lose Jacques Nienaber, attack coach, defence coach, pretty much. You want someone to take their hand over, and Rassi's the right man to step up and then nurture the new coach, whoever that might be, over the next 2 years. We've got an aging team, so we're the oldest team at the World Cup, at average age of 30, so we're going to lose some players, so there's a transition period. Eddie Jones, rugby memories are so short. Dave Rennie, remember, Raynell pulled them up for time wasting Australia. Yeah. They would have won the Bledisloe for the first time in 20 years. They lose that game with a penalty, come up 2 points short. He gets fired off the back of the championship. So, I mean, it's a fickle sport's always been, but the teams that has had consistency between World Cups, and it's the first time that we didn't lose a coach after post the World Cup, is the teams that's looking the strongest at the minute.
Look, let's be honest. I mean, who would want to be a coach? It's like, it's a hell of a tough job.
Well, ask Shimmy.
Shimmy, you coach.
Ask Shimmy.
All 3 of us, you are the most qualified to answer from a coaching perspective. Have you put your CV in for Springbok job?
No. Wow. If I was full-time coaching, I wouldn't be here. Come on now, calm down. Let's talk about Ireland. Let's talk about Ireland. Number 1 team in the world. Deservedly so. What have they gotten right? What makes them so tough?
They're very impressive. I think we've spoken about it so many times before. Their attacking ability, the way they get their face play going. Once they hit like 2-3 second rucks, they're extremely difficult to stop. And I think speaking about the weekend's game as well. Tonga, we thought would be able to put up a bit of a fight. I think they were a little bit disappointing in terms of that. And even though initially maybe the 10-15 minutes, a bit of quality shown by Tonga, but the later the game went on, the better Ireland got. And I think for us, you expect them so many times to have great starter plays, but this time around the ability to attack from second and third phase and have the trick plays up their sleeve there, and the effectiveness of that, how they were cutting the line and just getting it right. That was really impressive.
Sean, you're a Munster man.
Indeed.
The Irish, who was good value? Who did you?
Whoa, there's
Off the field. Off the field.
Who wasn't good value? Look, I loved my time there, even though it was only a a short stint, but fantastic people, and also, you know, a guy like Paul O'Connell now involved with the Irish setup. Don't underestimate his influence on this team as well, having been there for such a long time, being an inspirational player and captain, and now as a coach there as well. So, look,
Didn't you have to apologize? I think you told me a story once about O'Connell talking about the guys from the Southern Hemisphere.
No. That was Alan Quinlan.
He's in town as well, isn't he?
I can't tell that story.
No, you got to tell it, John.
No, I can't tell that one. But no, all of them, like Raj.
It's a safe place. Yeah. It's a safe space. Yeah.
Everything that we say stays within the interweb. But all of Raj, Dougie Howlett, Paulie O'Connell, David Wallace, John Hayes, you know, so many characters. Then Lafemi Murphy, Nick Williams, they were there, obviously not Irish, but I think that's the beauty of what you get. Peter Stringer, Thomas O'Leary.
Go on.
Go on. Can you mention more names?
You just throw all the names in there. So, sorry for whoever I'm missing out there. You know, the experience you get in the professional game now, same with you when you played overseas, you get to suddenly meet guys on a different level. They become your teammates now after playing against each other for so long, and then eventually become your friends. And then you get to occasions like World Cups, and then it's the has-been squads that get together and can meet up again. That's
Just
beautiful.
quickly on the Irish team, I think what is really glaring for everyone to see is the actual skill set within their structure for individuals to play, and whether you a forward like, you know, Tyke Furlong, who can pirouette like he's on a stage, or someone like Mac Hansen on a 22 beating 8 defenders and scoring tries. It really is the skill set of each and every individual to, within their structure, give them options, but that optionality really is an attacking prowess and threat every time they get the ball. So if defense
It's beautiful. It's
really beautiful to watch, right? If we have to acknowledge it.
I always go into these games a little bit nervous because the contrast in styles, because they want to attack. They set up so quickly and efficiently. Their breakdown's so nice, and they hold on to the ball. They boss the ball. So they ask different questions of your defense. And the way we defend is to get the ball back. Like it's a power defense. We rush. We know if you try and play deep, doesn't matter how deep you go, we go fetch you.
Yeah.
But there's no half measures in our defense. It's flat out all the time. Whether we got 2 against 4 or 1 against 3, he's going.
Yeah.
And it works for us. But it also doesn't take a lot to get it wrong.
To unlock it.
And last year in November, I was just as nervous. And I said, listen, this will be a proper test of our mettle. And if we are going to be, just one mindset, no second guessing, and we got them. Okay, we lost the game, but I felt much more comfortable after it. So this game, I think we've got the right artillery to put them under pressure. But we talk about the Irish side, and you talk about outside influence. Mac Henson.
Henson, yeah.
Australia, Bandiaki, James Lowe, Rob Herring.
Yeah.
You know, Gibson Park.
Yeah.
What the big matchups? What do you guys think the big matchups are going to be over the weekend?
For me, I
Just
think
3. Three big ones.
Just 3.
No, for me,
Because if I asked you that question, I asked you about Munster, you went down the history of Munster rugby. We just need 3. 3 big matchups.
Up front for me, I think they're really effective how they use Doris to get over the gain line.
Yeah.
We saw against Tonga, not coming like us, used Peter Steph du Toit as a battering ram, but they actually used him as a strike runner 3 phases down the line, where they thought, okay, Tonga's work rate will, drop off, and they won't set the rucks, and they had the strike play on the third play. So for me, if he gets gain line and gets over the gain line through clever little second man plays, I think we might be in trouble.
I'll go Bandiaki. He's been really impressive.
Yeah.
The 2 games he played now as well, just the momentum he provides on it, and again that platform from set phases, and then being able to play after that. So that's going to be a big matchup, him and Damien Delendi.
So I think for me, it's going to be at hooker. So we know there's going to be a lot of pressure on Bongi Mnambi. We don't know if
He's talking about the front row.
No. I'm just saying we're not sure if Dan Sheehan's going to be ready to play or not. Keller's also really good, but I think Bongi's got a lot of pressure to try get a full 60 or 70 minutes to just try give a bit of buffer. And because of that Malcolm loss, how Bongi then steps up, really ignites and fires the rest of the pack. And we all know, like, if your pack doesn't go well, whether it be line out or scrum, set phase dominance becomes really difficult to try to dominate everyone else in the field.
I think, like, if we want to get through 9 and 10,
Yeah.
And I think Gibson Park will start against us
Yeah,
for the
agreed.
speed of the ruck.
And Conor Murray off the bench.
He'll come
Yeah,
off the
Conor Murray,
bench
100%.
when like the game's a little bit tighter, and he'll return to like a contestable kicking game, which he's really good at. But then if we get to 9, if we get their rucks to slow down, we'll get to Johnny, we'll get to Sexton.
Running in
And
the
we've
summer.
seen in the past against South African sides where it's ultimate power versus their skill set and guile. It's not a comfortable place for them.
Yeah.
They get turned
Hence
inside.
narrow shell.
They get narrower.
Yeah.
And they do feel the heat. They get a lot of contact put on them, and I don't think that's a comfortable zone for them. We saw against Scotland, we got to Finn. We got to him early, and ultimately that disrupted his rhythm and the Scottish rhythm.
Okay.
Can I add something to that? I think what it eventually will come down to is just on the attacking play. If we can have a proper tackle fight off the phase play, really dominant tackles. So if we can slow down their ball through dominant tackles, big tackle fight, and then second man in being able to slow down. If we get that right, then suddenly our chances of being dominant and forcing them into errors would be so much more. And conversely, if they get it right, and they start getting the kicking game right and the attacking kicks and start finding space there, then we can be under pressure. So it's such a fine balancing act, because also with the rugby ball, you start kicking, it bounces your way, you score fantastic tries, as we saw with New Zealand in Mount Smart, but it bounces the other way. Now suddenly we've got outside backs that can score brilliant tries from there as well.
The mental aspect from an Irish point of view, they don't have a good World Cup record. They've been good in between. For them, I mean, if you put your Irish hat on and say, listen, from a mental point of view, Bryan, look, they couldn't get out the group. They've been knocked out of. They've got a terrible World Cup record.
They do. I just want to say on that, so before Scarlett goes, so yes, they do not have a great World Cup record, but what they've achieved in this last 18-month period is also something that no Irish team has ever achieved before, right? To go beat New Zealand in New Zealand, first ever series victory in the manner in which they did it last year, and then to follow that up with winning a Grand Slam in a Six Nations in a Rugby World Cup year. That's pretty impressive. So you look at that. I think the one thing, maybe it's just the mentality around La Rochelle overcoming Leinster in 2 Champions Cup finals, and what that means for those guys involved.
And Leinster in URC.
And Leinster in
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. So that's maybe the one thing.
That's what I'm alluding
But I just think
alluding to. Stop alluding
to.
You bring stuff in the back
This
of
is
your
a
car.
serious conversation. We've had the fun in the beginning. Okay.
So it is that. But I just think Leinster, in comparison to what Andy Farrell brings to the international setup, is very, very different. That's why they've been able to achieve what they did in New Zealand last year and follow that up with a Grand Slam. So I'm very nervously excited for this game, but the emphasis on nervous.
I'm also nervous, but we've got it in South Africa. Not in our code, not in rugby, but cricket.
Looting.
No.
Oh.
In cricket, we've got the same thing of getting into a big ICC tournament and not getting it over the line. Yes, we've been close. We've come to a couple of semi-finals. And we've had sides that were good enough to win it, but unfortunately, we just haven't got it over the line. And I think for Ireland, doesn't matter how much you try and downplay it, and every group is different. Every group responds to pressure differently. They'll have a different build-up. They're number 1 in the world, but that pressure will come at some stage, and it's whether they can handle it and get through that hurdle. Because if they do get through a quarterfinal this year, there's probably going to be odds-on favourites to go and win it.
They'll definitely get to the final then. You get through the first knockout this year and you make it to a final. I think the difference between this game, the weekend, and a quarterfinal game is that you can still make it through even if you lose on the weekend. For Ireland, so it's not a knockout, it's not a do or die, even though you are making it a little bit more difficult for yourself, whether you're Irish or South African. But that's why this is going to be a huge game. And let's be fair, the 2 form sides of the World Cup. Yeah. If you take on performances the first 2 weeks, these 2 teams have been the teams that have been spot on in everything that they've done.
Sean, getting psyched up for a game.
Yes, I'm getting psyched up.
You're getting psyched up. I can see.
Getting psyched up.
Every team's got different. Scala, you've been in the Saracens change room. You obviously been here at Toulon, Munster. What's the best tactics or best psych up speech you've heard? from any of you guys, the best message you've heard? South Africans, we generally quite
obviously
quiet, Brian. It's not.
Al Pacino.
We're usually very quiet in the change room. You know, it's us. It's listening here.
Except, so one of the, I want to say it was the best, but one of the most amusing, entertaining one was Percy Montgomery at halftime against Samoa.
The first
No,
game.
Park the Prawns. Park the Prawns.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sorry, Park the
Park the
Prawns, yeah.
Prawns. So, yeah, I think we went to the sheds like, what, 12?
Yeah, not far up.
12, 7 up.
Bonita.
And he goes, so obviously we can't swear, this is a children's program. Boys, we're getting effed up out there. And I don't like it. No one likes it.
Thanks,
There's the fullback.
Yeah. But then he said, what he said, like, the first 5 minutes, 20 minutes. Like he said something.
The problem,
We love you, Martin.
But actually got everyone laughing, and sometimes that takes the pressure
The problem
off.
with that game is we were trying, but we just couldn't. That first 20 was brutal.
I think each to his own, right? I think there's a few captains that did really well. And 2006, when did you guys beat Australia?
Oh, John
Smith throwing a bottle against the
2008
wall.
was
2008.
John broke a
John Smith,
yeah, the big red.
Who did he throw it at?
Got angry at a wall. Yeah,
He didn't even play.
he was injured. He was telling us about passion, and I'll show you passion. He picked this glass up and just smashed it against the wall, and we were all like, "All right, it's got my attention now." Anyway,
That's unusual for John to get like that.
Jongi Nokwe 4 tries that game.
We beat Australia with a record score, like 60 points or something at Ellis Park.
Ellis Park, yeah. It's a
The Springboks, I think they're playing in their away jersey. That's true.
Yeah,
alternate away jersey.
Alternate, yeah.
60 glycerine.
No, but
No, the second one. They're playing pure white.
Yeah,
Pure white,
it's-
not the
There's a
60
change now.
Yes.
It's not the
No,
60.
it's, you need to get your facts right when you prepare for the show.
No, that was a trick question. It was a trick question. So what does it look like, John?
So it's
Asking for a friend.
It's a white only jersey with a bit of the, I mean that
Bit of
baby
that,
bluish, and then the
pants are blue.
and the pants are that's kind of like
This one,
Brian's,
this color.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
color.
like that Adidas.
There's no brands. Adidas.
Shirt.
So yeah, I think it's got to do with a few things. Obviously, World Rugby have highlighted the fact, it's just the color blindness awareness that they're trying to create about inclusivity, which I think is really important. And the kind of green don't.
You went into head boy mode there. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
You went into head boy
No,
mode.
but just let people understand. 'Cause
Okay.
I think for all of us as ex-Springboks, I'm
You
going to be
gotta
brutally
see
honest.
the value in it.
No. For all of us as ex-Springboks, I think that strip that we wore last week is horrendous. It's horrendous.
I agree. Like I think for all of us, our favorite jumpers is the white one. Yeah, I love our green is special, but whenever you play in the white one with a little Springbok emblem, for me it was a favorite clip.
But apparently everyone agreed on that jersey. Players, brands, SA Rugby. So, but yeah, I think they opened the vote up to the South African public.
Exactly.
Guys,
we didn't get asked.
Other games, Fiji, Australia in trouble?
Yes, Australia
I
in
think
lots
it's
of
fair
trouble.
to say that. It's such a difficult one because you, as anything, whether it's a business or team or whatever, you've got a plan set out and you've got an eventual end goal. You know, for Eddie and his group, it was, okay, they're working towards 2027. So you get a squad together, you start building, you get through the Lions series, and then hopefully eventually successful in that World Cup. But the sporting world is just, it's cutthroat. So
Yeah.
if you start losing like this, people won't have, they're obviously not happy with that. And I think with Australian sport as well, and where rugby sits in the Australian sporting community or environment rather, they are fighting. They're always up against it. So if they're not winning, they are losing a massive, a lot of supporters.
Glad for
Well
Fiji,
said. They're
though.
not winning, they're losing. Thank you.
Glad for Fiji, because they against Wales they were
The better
so
Yeah.
unlucky. They were the better side. So proper performance, but
Yeah.
like watching them trying to close that game out with a malfunctioning lineup. I mean, I don't know how the coaching staff was looking. I saw Glenn Jackson there, basically just hands in his head.
Yeah.
But like we were nervous.
Can
watching
they
it.
make it through the Fiji?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they finish first or second in their pool, then they go through.
Great insight there. We're getting deep. Now we're getting really deep. Plan A doesn't work. Where do you go to? Plan B.
That's how it works.
Other teams, who do you feel, which teams haven't rocked up to the World Cup yet?
But a serious answer to your question earlier, that's going to be a very interesting. So if I think we'll get a response from Australia, if they, let's say they beat Wales, then suddenly it's
Everything
bonus points,
point
points
difference.
difference, etc.
Then Wales is in trouble because their performance against Portugal was
poor.
no good. They got the bonus point,
Yeah.
which matters. But like in knockout game for the Wallabies, that's Sunday night, I think it is. You know, if they lose that game, they're gone.
Back in the bags.
Guys, it's coming home again, eh?
100%.
England are 2 in a row. It's coming home.
They are believing.
They're believing.
And a bit of Saracens' mindset there, eh? Like a lot more kicks in play, a lot more bite in their defense. Actually, I think it worked in their favor the first game against Argentina. Who, for me, you asked who didn't rock up. Argentina
100%.
did not rock up at
Still
all.
waiting for them.
But the fact that they went to 14 men, actually, I think,
Galvanized them a little bit.
galvanized. And Ford knew that he had to boss it with his boots. I mean, how did he strike
That was
those drop
brilliant.
goals? It was amazing.
Quickly, Owen Farrell coming back for England. Where do they fit him in?
That's going to be the big question. That'll be the deciding moment.
Do we go back to a Ford? Do we go back to a Ford Farrell 10-12 combination?
100%
Like
is
they
what
had in
I
2019.
feel they are going to do. But like
What
I
works?
love,
What doesn't
I
work,
love
though?
Tuilagi close to the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do they do then?
In the past, the only
You
thing we
both
can-
work now. What's
The only thing we can go
what do
by
you
is what they've done in the past. And they go 10, 12. Faz is their playmaker at 12, and they move to Tuilagi in place of Marchant at 13.
13.
You don't think they'll ever consider playing Farrell at 10?
I think that's
Because
also
that's his
an
best
option.
position.
But I think Ford's made it hard now
Yeah.
for them.
I think any way they go will be hard.
But all you guys have captain teams. Maybe sometimes the captain can turn around and see that you have. Weren't you vice captain at some stage?
That's very
Still got the captain. You were.
That was
Yeah.
vice
You were.
captain and
So,
captain.
who's the all?
No, it doesn't count.
Who's the top try scorer? Top try scorer? Does that mention us?
At Rugby World Cup. It's actually Portia Woodman Wycliffe.
Okay. Who is it?
John Lomu, Julian Sevilla.
You messaged me to ask you that question before the show.
I saw it. I actually saw the message.
You
I
saw the message.
Was that when after you asked me to order you McDonald's on Uber?
No, but when does it come from a
Shimmy,
captaincy
why
point
are you
of view
banned
and say,
from Uber?
and he can go to he can go to Borthwick and say, listen, yeah, I understand I'm captain, but if you feel I'm not good enough to be in this team that's playing this well, then leave me out.
Oof.
Surely that's if we talk about leadership and everything, and you talk about the team and sacrificing.
Look, I think
I'm not saying you should do that, but surely then
Owen's a
you know,
competitor. I can't see
the,
it.
the one thing about Faz is, even though he hasn't been playing, he would have had a massive impact on
Yeah.
the mindset, the way they've been training, anything that they've done, he would have signed off, been a part of it.
Yeah.
He's such a big competitor.
Yeah.
So he wants to now obviously get back and play, and he's a great rugby player. So, the issue for us is just, what happens with 10, 12 and 13? Where does he fit in? I can't see him have a role off the bench, really. I don't think he's that type of player. We want to start with Faz if he's selected.
But also, Shimmy, remember, he will be sitting there thinking and knowing he can do better. So he's never going to go and say, no, that guy's
no, but it's like if he says if the coach don't,
No, but
because
the
you
coach
can
will-
also get put in the team just because you're the captain.
Yeah, I was.
Remember
I
that?
was there at once. but it's exactly that. You in your mind, if you're in that moment, you think you can still do
Still,
better. So I mean, he's such a competitor. It's a very, it's such a delicate situation for them, because I think that will have a massive impact as to where they end up in this competition, depending on where they go.
Bryan, who's impressed you the most so far? One player so far this World Cup. Doesn't have to be a Springbok.
George Ford. I'm going to say the way he.
That's what you won last week, yeah?
No, I just to take that responsibility and onus on yourself as a player, particularly in the pivotal role of fly half. And I mean, my Super Bowl pick said Argentina were going to win, and England actually stuff, and he did it all by himself, right?
All of us all said
he did it.
Argentina.
all by himself. And I just think on the world's biggest stage, for a guy who's been out of the squad for a long time in the 4-year cycle, but then step up with the loss of Owen Farrell, it was absolutely amazing. And he's almost again galvanized that England side to believing a bit of confidence post what happened to them in 07.
Sure.
It was very much like the Johnny Wilkinson coming back and giving them that belief of
And a similar style of play they're going with. Big line speed, kicking it a lot. Their set piece for the minute is holding on. Their line out is obviously functioning really nicely. And that, when it comes to knockout rugby, playing a low-risk strategy like that,
Yeah.
it's hard to play against.
Scala, who's impressed you this last round?
I'm going to go with Nice Levu from Fuji.
Yeah.
Nice
Captain,
Levu, yeah.
13, proper player. Like, I mean, comes onto the ball and moves like a lot of those players do. And then I was surprised that Tuasova at 12. I haven't
12,
seen him
yeah,
play
yeah.
12. Good
Just
at the
that guy.
breakdown, big.
How good is that backline,
big-
man? Those guys.
big-
Thank you very much.
Attacking options there.
And John, you player?
I'm going to go for, after the last round, I'm going to go Grant Williams.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Playing out of position, 2 tries.
Yeah, proper.
Yeah.
That's good. But can we also maybe just take our hats off to Uruguay?
Yeah.
How they went against
Jeez,
the French.
how nice that they played.
That was, and I think the Uruguayan captain in the press conference post-match saying,
Fantastic.
there were only 2 of you at our team announcement, and now this whole room's full. And just the respect that they've garnered from the whole rugby world. A lot of these tier 2 nations have come here not to compete, but really just to show the world that they're here to stay for a while, which I think is brilliant.
Portugal, same thing. Good, big performance from them as well against Wales. You played in a lot of World Cups. The competition, throughout 20 teams. Maybe when we played our first World Cups, there might have been 8 teams that can compete. Now suddenly we're seeing that gap very much closing and getting.
But you enjoy the passion. But look, I must say, there's a part of me. I interviewed the Romanian coach afterwards, and the guy looked absolutely broken. No answers. You play Ireland, you play the Springboks, and he said, look, they appreciate the opportunity. They would have learned a lot from it. But it can't be fun when you're getting bashed like that.
So the problem is not
2 weekends in a row.
The problem is not at a World Cup. The problem is that in between the cycles where they're not playing the level of rugby more consistently than
competitive
the top
rugby.
like Japan, this past weekend, I think they played 26 games maybe in the last 4-year cycle, and it was just like. And yes, COVID had an impact, but if those teams aren't getting more consistent games throughout the 4-year cycle, they're never going to be competitive at this stage.
It's a good point, and that's why we're seeing the
Tier 1 rugby, yeah. So
but also Samoa, Fiji, Tonga. Why they're more competitive?
Yeah.
Because they're playing more competitive rugby, in the Super Rugby tournament, etc. Now,
If you get in a pool like the pool of death, where you've got Scotland, South Africa, Ireland,
Tonga.
Tonga. You can't help but feel sorry for them, because in any other pool in this World Cup they would have been okay. Because even some other pools, there's one big game, and you can sometimes, like France, sort of lose a bit of intensity. Uruguay can get a foothold in the game and actually have a bit of belief. But in our pool, everyone's on top of it from minute 1. You concede 152 points in the first 2 games, and it's not through a lack of effort. I mean, that little loose head, Hardtick, was climbing in, carrying, leg chopping. Their fullback was such a neat, nice little player, good skills, great under the high ball. But unfortunately, the box was just on, and you can't compete over 80 minutes then.
The big one's going to be Uruguay against Namibia. Namibia haven't won a World Cup game yet. I think they're targeting Canada. The last World Cup, 4 years ago. So that's one that I'm going to be watching.
And we've got our mate Tuti as coach. And they will be lovely if another South African, Southern African side can get a win over the line.
Who was, but in the Uruguay team, Shimi, who's your favorite player that you?
I don't know. In the Georgian team, who's your favorite player? They were brilliant, as a collective. A cohesive unit. There was that one cross kick.
It is a bit of a challenge getting to know the names, right?
100%. Yeah, it is a bit of a challenge. And then maybe just the kudos to Anton Leonard Brown, who post the injury went to the hospital.
They went to visit him.
Went to visit
Leroux
Milan.
You see that happen, and I have to run away from the television. I had to go get a beer at the bar and wait till it's finished.
The referee's reaction to that?
No,
he didn't like it. He walked away.
As he walked away, Bruce was, oh my. Almost.
But that is what's still special about our game. It is those special moments and the respect we've got for each other, because no doubt play this game long enough, you're going to have a nasty injury like that. And if it happens in front of you, just to go back to the mate and say, listen here, are you right? Well done.
Go visit the hospital afterwards.
It's cool that they got the airplane to fly over right on cue. For the podcast.
That's Bryan's lift home, by the way.
Have you not heard of Uber aeroplane? My Uber's working, Jimmy.
There's helicopters on the way to take him. Don't worry. Guys, score prediction for this weekend?
Which game? For the BOK game. I think I went for 28-26.
I don't know what I went for, but the BOKS by the smallest margin possible, 1 point.
1 point in it. Right?
Yeah, I also think the Boks have done enough. They've got some really great momentum with them. Like John and Schalk, I don't see much being in it. I'd love to see us score a few tries, both sides, but I think the Boks at least by 3.
Do we have, because I think it might be raining on Saturday.
Saturday morning, apparently, there might be a little bit of drizzle.
Okay.
Hoping it clears up. We are entering into the late stages of autumn, yeah?
Yes.
You're pretty bold, I see you got...
Toughing it out, eh?
You're toughing it out, eh?
We're about to close the box office. Bryan, it's been good having you here.
Thanks for my first effort, eh?
No, you've done well. I think we give him a pass.
No, you,
Just a pass, distinction.
Episode 3, you're part of the family now.
Very much, Jimmy. Thanks very much.
Well done, Bryan. But good seeing you.
You guys have got the TGV now to your hotel.
Yeah, no, we've got to cross the border to Belgium. We'll be back tomorrow. Yeah.
We physically, well, no, don't get us started about.
Don't get
us started about where we stay. You're gonna drop the mood of the show.
Must I Uber collect you some McDonald's?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
KFC.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Takeaways are done.
Yeah.
It's a cleansing day today. Shimmy time now. So I'm gonna take it easy. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to speak to anybody. I'm gonna lock my room.
Thanks, boys. It's been good.
It's been very good, eh? So
Thanks,
we're about
Bryan.
to close the box office. Bryan, all the best. We'll see you over the weekend. You'll be in the box with the big dogs. We'll be doing the hard work on the ground level, eh?
Can't wait for this game to start. It's
Huge
the biggest one yet in this World Cup, and it's a privilege to be a part of it. So, as like John said, we're getting a little bit psyched up about it, which is unusual for me.
Exactly. No, that's what it's about. The biggest game so far outside the opening game. What's the name of that nightclub again you mentioned?
We don't want everyone going.
Okay, cool. All right.
You're not going to say bye to John?
No, well, let me finish. Sculler, you on next week, eh?
I don't actually know.
Okay. JDV will be back next week, back in Marseille at our villa.
How is Marseille? I haven't been on.
Beautiful.
Is it?
It's been so
You got
hot
the
down
chateau
there.
on
it's
the
a
beachfront.
lovely, you should
We say
actually
our
join us
villa,
for
but it's
one
not
of
really our
those
villa.
shows. A beautiful villa.
Serious.
The nice setting. Beautiful.
That was
Everyone, get your
strong, right?
fantasy teams out there, by the way, on the World Rugby site. Get the app. Have you done it, Bryan?
No, you haven't invited me. I'm
No, it's on the app. I don't invite. Okay. We'll create the group. We'll invite you. You'll be behind the... You can't pick yourself either. Do you remember that? Okay. All right, guys. The box office is closed. We'll catch up next week for episode 4 from Marseille.